pops up.
Get it past all ads, logos, etc.
Yeah.
This is season 1, episode 1. When you're lost in the dark. In 3, 2. I didn't pull up the timer. Hold on. Damn it. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Play. And I don't think I've actually watched. I might have watched the pilot on disc, but this has just kind of been sitting on my shelf. So I've seen this pilot like 3 or 4 times when it first aired. I showed it to people, watched it on my own, etc. I don't know how I feel about this opening.
I like it a lot. We have John Hannah here playing this guest who I know from The Mummy.
Yeah, it's the Mummy guy.
The Mummy guy. And I love the setting. I love the period piece. I think it's really clever the way this prologue gets out a lot of exposition to me in an interesting way. Where it's
But
not
an
literally...
exposition that I don't think you need.
I think for the TV audience you do, because it does prep them for, okay, this is what it's going to happen, this is how it's going to happen, but it's posed as a theory. I like that it's a flashback or in the 60s, just, yeah,
The game didn't
fungus
need
is
to
scary.
explain where the virus came from. I'm not sure why the show needs to.
Yeah, but those details are in the game, like that newspaper you can find as Sarah. Like, the details
But you can
are there.
miss that and be fine.
Sure. But that's just the type of
This feels like they don't trust the
you.
audience. We have to upfront it. Oh, it's a virus. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah, I just don't get that vibe.
I do like how he delivers the exposition.
He's so good. I just love watching this performance, and it's not the typical like fast zombie rage virus you've seen in like 28 Days Later or whatever. Like this fungus idea is very unique. And I just think they make it sound so interesting the way he describes how this could happen, in the real world. And
It's weird.
I like it.
And we'll get to do it with episode 2 as we keep that going in episode 2 with the flashbacks, and we drop it.
Kind of.
Admittedly, some of this is 2-year-old memories, so I might see something and be like, "Oh, wait a minute." The other thing I don't like about this is it gives a reason for why it happens when it happens. I like that in The Last of Us, you don't know, it's just, oh, it happened. Like, sure, you can find out what causes it's a fungus, but they never give a reason for, oh, it was global warming. I don't like that the only explanation we're given is, what if global warming happens, and then that happens.
I like that. I like that it's posed as a theory, though. It's more posed as okay, well, this is how it could happen. Because in the real world, this virus or this fungus that infects ants, like that, as far as we know, cannot infect humans. Like, this isn't actually possible in the real world that we live in. So it's just posing an idea of like, well, this is how that could happen.
It is weird seeing him in such a serious role, though, right? Like, because I see him as the Mummy guy, or he's a goofball.
And I think that prologue's just paired really well with this opening credit sequence, where it's like, okay, now we talked about it, and now we're showing the audience. I love this opening credit sequence. It's such a good visual demonstration.
And I like that they didn't record new music for it. Like, you already have the perfect opening music.
They brought back the same composer. What's his name? I can never pronounce his name. But
Gustavo something.
Yeah, Gustavo. Our boy Gustavo.
But see, this also goes into what I'm saying. I think you can get enough of what's going on from these opening credits. I don't know if I need to be handheld an explanation of what causes it at the end of the day.
Yep, that's fair.
God,
I still like it. The visuals are great. Yeah, I just think it's a nice little prep, just kind of easing you into this world. And
I like that it's colorful, whereas the game is very black and white, the opening credits. 2003. God, can you imagine if pop culture just ended at 2003?
Yeah. It's fun the way that the show explores a little bit of that. But if you know the game well, you get that menu screen of the window with the curtains and the breeze. We establish here through Sarah's window, and that's going to be a recurring visual motif throughout the series. Is all these window shots. Just nice little homage to the game.
Yeah, no, this is starting like strikingly faithful. So when it veers off, it feels weird.
I get that. I get that. I think it's faithful enough throughout. But one area where I think this pilot succeeds, stuff that you take for granted when you're playing the game, is when you start the game and you're playing as Sarah, there's this immediate empathetic connection you have as a player because you identify with the person you're playing as, and you can look at the newspapers and pick up all these context clues. You learn about story through gameplay, and the show doesn't have that luxury. So I think it's smart that we stretch out this prologue, show the whole day. Like in the game, we see her give Joel the watch for his birthday and saying that she fixed it for him. Here, we get to actually see that, and I think it works. I don't think it's padding; it's just
No,
fleshing out those story beats that are in the game.
there's spoilers. I think this is a damn near perfect pilot.
It's excellent. And we're talking over him, but Gabriel Luna, when he showed up as Tommy, when he starts talking, I was like, holy shit. Like, he sounds a lot like Game Tommy if you're
Mm-hmm.
listening to his voice. Like, he's doing a great job.
Really good.
And I think the chemistry with these three is fantastic. You really buy this family dynamic.
I know there's some like hesitancy about Pedro just because he's in everything.
Mhm.
I don't know. He's kind of great in this show.
I like him a lot. I think he's a really good actor with a lot of range.
Well, it's crazy too because you think of him as such a big actor right now. He's mostly a TV guy.
Yeah,
He's
going
not a
all the way back to
movie
Game of
star.
Thrones. Yeah,
Shit.
and
Going back to Buffy, he's in an episode of Buffy.
I can't wait to get to that. Because even some of the movies he's been in so far have been flops, like Wonder Woman 84, or even a movie
And to
that
be
actually that I
fair,
liked.
he was the best part of Wonder Woman 84 for me.
He's really good. Like, it's really cheesy, but it works.
He knows what he's in.
Yeah, exactly. So this was obviously in the works for many years, initially as a movie, when this game was a massive hit. When this is being developed, if you can think back several years, were you excited about this? Were you not interested? Did you think this was a bad
The
idea? How was
show or
kind of
the
your thought?
movie?
I'll say both, just as this thing was being developed.
My reaction to the movie is the same as my reaction anytime we announce a video game movie. It's like, oh god, don't fuck it up.
Yep.
The show, I was like, yeah, I mean that's probably a better place for it. But I think what people need to remember is that this was kind of revolutionary. We didn't have any video game TV shows that were like premium cable, like,
Right.
so I didn't know what to expect. I was like, either this is going to be a perfect adaptation or they are going to change it to fit what they think the HBO audience is. I think what we got is somewhere in the middle, but I'm happy enough with it. Like, if I was giving this
Sure.
out of 10, I'd give it like a 7.5.
Yeah, that's fine. I like these extra characters, like their neighbors. It's just a very believable dynamic that they set up. That these neighbors that have to babysit Joel's daughter later, and the way he's teasing her and stuff. We also get a bit more backstory with Tommy with his military service. Again, just really good little bits of extra details you get.
And I all feel the stuff with Tommy at least still feels like Game Tommy. Like, I could see Game
Yeah.
Tommy being a veteran.
hmm And that's one of the first major changes up front is we move the timeline back from 2013 which is when the game came out, to 2003. And I'm not entirely sure why we did that, but I like it
I have
because
a
they have
few
some fun
things where
with
I'm
it.
like, I don't know which. Like we'll get into it, but they completely change how the infected work, and I don't know why.
A little bit. Yeah, we'll get to it. But what I like with the 2003 setting is Tommy's military background and setting this much more shortly after 9/11. You know, that they
The
emphasize
world
certain
ended, but
elements of
9/11
that
still happened.
yeah,
God, this brings back nightmares. I hated the bus.
I wasn't a fan. And I am at that place just in my age though, where I am getting a bit nostalgic for that like mid 2000s kind of pre smartphone era. So whenever we get media now exploring that time period, I'm like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Yeah. I will say I like the show version of Sarah more than I do the game.
At this point, I probably
At this
agree.
person,
At this person, yeah, because the game Sarah works for the game and works for Joel's story, but you know she's not a three-dimensional character. You know, you don't spend a whole lot of time with her.
in a way, this reminds me of Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, where you just
Mm,
start with a character and everything that's bad that's about to happen is just background stuff. Like, oh, you know, she's a
yeah,
nurse in the hospital, and the guy came in with a bite. Um,
they do a great job throwing in these little clues.
I would be fascinated to know what that movie looks like because I almost feel like you have to cut out like the first third of the game and like just start with it being Ellie and Joel on the road.
Yeah, and even then, like you gotta do at least two movies, right?
Yeah,
Like how do you pack that into just one?
because like even with this show being what it's probably about 9-ish hours, 8-ish hours. I
Yeah,
still think it could
about
have
nine
used
hours.
another episode or two.
I wouldn't complain. We'll get to where I wouldn't have minded an extra episode. I like this old lady's line. Like people need to get right with Jesus.
Funny enough, because this stuff is in Texas, if I remember, because that's
Yeah.
where Joel was from. I've been to Texas in 2000, so not long before this.
Hmm.
It sucked. Going changing climates like that, oof, I was miserable.
Oof. Yeah, I had family that lives in Texas, but like I didn't visit them a whole lot. Like
Only
in
been
that
there once.
state growing up. Yeah. And if you've seen a horror movie,
Old
old
ladies
lady.
scare me.
Yeah.
No, because there is a shot that's about to come up that is, I think, really creepy because it's doing that thing that I think is the scariest thing you can do in a film, where it's just a normal shot, but there's something going on in the background that shouldn't be, and once you notice it, you can't stop looking at it.
Yeah, and they do a great job. Like the music's
Yeah, like
subtle.
look
There
at
aren't any
her.
loud sound effects.
Stop
Just
it.
the twitching. Don't do that.
And it's like out of focus.
What's also interesting about this show as an adaptation, given that this came out after the second game was released, is all the Easter eggs they were able to work in from that. Like this cheesy action movie that Joel's
Yeah.
like this cheesy made up action movie that Joel's into. Like
Well, I
those little
think
touches are great.
we get some of like him being a singer in this one. In this, or maybe it's just the
They may have
guitar
cleaned up.
because all that stuff is just part two. Like you never get.
there's one exchange with him and Ellie when he talks about like, oh, when I was younger, I wanted to be a singer, and she asks if he can sing her a song. He's like, no. So there's one exchange where we talk about it in the game.
Well, and it's funny too because that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that only exists because Troy Baker can sing. Like,
Of course, it's great.
yeah,
That moment felt very, like you said, Zack Snyder, Dawn of the Dead, with like the jets flying over. We were like, huh, there's something going on.
now we're at the beginning of the game.
We are. Like like I said, it's really good expansion on that prologue, and just getting this whole day, like the last day of normalcy for these people before the shit hits the fan.
And if I remember correctly, this more explicitly mentions that Joel is in like construction. I think in the game it's kind of vague what he did.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because one change is, I think in the game when we first see Joel, he's talking to somebody, and I think he was just let go because he's talking about like, I need this job, something like that. So that's a little different. But it makes it, but like in the show though, it makes sense, like he's a single dad, so he's working long hours.
And then you get little scenes like this. This is just one for one from the game.
And the actors sell it well. Like drugs, I sell hardcore drugs.
This one, the show also just explicitly gives an like a explanation for where his wife is.
I don't think so. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
You just thought she's not in the picture anymore. There might have been more of that in the game when Joel talks about having Sarah when he was pretty young and
Maybe
things
I'm
not
getting
working
it
out.
mixed up. Yeah.
Well, what I love about this show as an adaptation, why I really like it, is as a companion piece to the game. It doesn't supplant it, and in some ways, I don't even think it improves on it. It's just, oh, there's some very unique experiences you get from playing the game, and you get a unique experience watching the show. For me, they complement each other really well.
I think the high highs do that, and then there's some low lows where I'm like, what are we doing?
But this is a change I like, where Tommy calls Joel and is like, I'm in jail. I got in a fight with somebody who was acting weird. And you get so much context for this relationship where Joel's like, "Ah, not again, fucking Tommy." Like, but of course we know
The other thing that I
what's actually going
like,
on.
but also makes the timeline a little weird, is one of Joel's main motivations after the apocalypse is still finding Tommy. Whereas in the game, it's clear they don't talk anymore. Like
Mhm.
they very definitively in the game go their separate ways. Whereas in this one, Tommy just kind of fucks off and vanishes.
Yeah, which again, I don't think it's an improvement or a detractor. It's just different.
It's just
Uh,
different. But at that point, you're getting into change for the sake of change because it doesn't add anything.
well, they just lean into his motivation being his clinginess, and like, oh, Tommy's gone. So what we change is in the game, Joel and Tess are just angry about losing their guns and getting screwed out of a deal because they're working as smugglers. On the show, it's he's trying to find Tommy, and then that path will eventually come into play
I
through
will have to
through
see how it
Ellie's
plays again,
story.
but I remember it being another case where we have to kind of soften Joel up a bit because in the
And
game,
he
the
is.
reason they fall apart is Joel is very morally ambiguous.
Oh
He
yeah,
is a
and he still
survivor.
is in the show.
Meanwhile, downstairs, I am excited for season 2, though. I think it can fix some of the issues that I have with this season.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Oh my god, it's the dog.
And
Robert, it
while
really
that
is Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. She's gonna get killed over a stupid dog. That might be the funniest thing in that movie, where that girl just like freaks out and decides to run into a pack of zombies over a dog.
somebody's got to do it. Yeah, I love the slow build up and the anxiety of like, oh
This
god,
might be my favorite
what's
episode
going on?
of the 9.
It's really good. The one thing that kind of gives it an unfair advantage is, like, as you said, being such a great pilot, is this was actually the first 2 episodes that they combined into one. Do you remember the story?
No, I didn't know that.
So originally the first episode was going to be pretty much entirely this prologue, this flashback sequence.
Oh, I don't like
And
that.
when we jump 20 years, we'll get to it when the time skip happens. But the 20-year time skip was going to be the end of episode 1. And then episode 2 was going to be all the Joel and Teth, the Joel and
Joel
Tess
and
and meeting
Teth,
Ellie stuff. Joel and Teth
my favorite character,
and
Teth.
meeting Ellie. But the issue they ran into with episode 1 was, yeah, it's just kind of miserable, and there's not really a hook. Like, there's not like
Yeah,
a
no, you.
story that's really kicked in yet. So that's why this episode is
No, that's
extended.
a
That's why
good
it's an hour
idea.
and
I think I would have been pissed if I tuned in and the first episode was just flashback material. That's insane.
But which is important. You know, it's important story stuff. But I think it worked out having this just being
It is,
an
and I don't,
hour
because
and a
that's the
half
thing, right?
episode.
So when you're watching it, it would have been fine, but then it skips to like the meat of the story, and it's like episode over. I would have been like, "What the fuck?" Oh my god.
Stuff's so great. So we've had this conversation before about how much you consider this a quote unquote horror show. There's enough of those elements in here that I think it counts. Like, yeah, it is
I
a
mean, we're
drama,
covering
certainly.
it, so
But yeah, exactly. But I like that the show can still go to those scary, gross places. Like this lady
I'm also
spreading the
really curious to
virus.
see how they adapt some of the stuff in part 2, because there's no spores in this universe, which I think was a
They're
dumb
bringing
idea.
they're bringing spores into season 2.
Oh, so they realized that that was a dumb idea.
I never thought it was dumb. I got the reasoning for it as far as this season goes. I'm curious how the show is going to handle it. I don't miss the spores just because part of the logistic issue is like, well, whenever we do that stuff, our actors are going to have to wear masks. So that was part of it. Effects are part of it, but as far as this season goes, yeah, I don't miss the spores. They really lean into like this whole tendril idea, like we just saw with the old lady. Like, we get more of a look at how they're spreading the virus, like with those tendrils coming out of their mouths. It's really
But no,
gross.
it need to be that complicated. They spread it with bites. It's not hard. I don't.
But the spores thing, it's one of those things you don't question in a game that you might question more in a show, where it's like, this doesn't make much sense how isolated the spores are in certain areas, but other areas are fine. Like, everybody should be fucking dead. But
Explain
whatever.
that by having it be in like constant. Well, no, because that makes sense. Like they're trapped in buildings or trapped in the subway. Like it's not like the spores are just sitting out in the middle of the street and not going anywhere. They're always in
Mm.
isolated, contained places.
Like I said, in the context of the season, I don't miss it, but I'm curious how season 2 is going to handle it.
My problem is that we adapted this whole new lore for them. You know, where it's these nests with tendrils and shit,
Mm.
and that doesn't come into play at all.
Yeah,
So
it
you
only
did that
kind
for
of does in
nothing.
like one episode. I mean, it does in like one episode, in the middle. Again, I'm curious how much season 2 might expand on that and how they're going to handle the spore stuff. But Yeah,
especially because
that
that's
stuff
you're
I thought
gonna
was
get a whole
fine.
bunch of new infected.
Yeah, which I think they are doing.
Well, they'd have to like if I don't get a shambler and another bloater, I'm gonna be outraged.
But there are things that work in the game though that I don't need in the show. Like in the game, having the bloaters literally throwing spore bombs at you. Like I don't need that in the show. It works fine in the game. I'm fine with the show dropping
Care if
some of
they
those
throw
goofier
more
elements.
spore bombs. I just like more than one token bloater.
Hmm. No, the woman gets pretty awesome,
It is, yeah.
and we know we're getting more in season 2. That's where I'm just more forgiving of some of those changes. We at least know that there is more coming. It's not like the
Well, and to
game,
be
which was a
fair,
complete isolated experience.
these are complaints I had at the time where I was just at it on its own terms. Not well, in maybe 5 years we'll get season two that might add some of this stuff.
But
Yes, I
this
know it only
sequence,
ended up being 2 years. Leave me alone.
but this sequence, I think is amazing. The way it's shot. I remember watching this with my mom because I had shown her the game before because I love the game so much, and this sequence really stood out to her of like, oh my god, like this feels just like the game, which is the POV being in the car, looking around. It's a really
And
fantastic sequence,
I was
and
really
it's
hoping
shot
this
driving by the farmhouse on fire.
would fact check Sony into getting some more of these properties adapted. But it seems like they're really struggling.
They're still working on that God of War show, and it
I
doesn't
am
sound like they're going the
so
right way about it.
oh God. I cannot believe you would adapt a property that is as big for them as God of War and skip the first arguably half of it. You know how cool it would be to get like a rated R Greek action revenge thing? Now
It could be awesome
we gotta do the Norse stuff because that's the mature
because that's the new hotness. That's the new popular one.
which I don't know how well that's gonna work if you don't know the Greek stuff. Because his
Yep.
character arc is like relying on that. I don't know. Have you played any of those?
No, I haven't played any of them myself. I'm just
Okay.
aware of that franchise.
So I was just curious how like God of War 2018 plays if you haven't played like the first three. Because that clearly is like a if you've never played any of them, you can start here.
Yeah, it was intended as kind of a soft reboot. Like I said, I'm just really impressed with the scale of this episode. Just all these locations, all these extras. It really captures
Sorry,
the world of the
Robert. I'll
game.
focus on The Last of Us.
Do you like this edition of the plane crash? Because I think it's really well executed.
Yeah. No, I like all this stuff.
And we do get that same bit from Joel where Tommy's like, there's people, I can't keep driving. And Joel's like, fuck him. Keep going.
No, like this in a way captures the chaos of what's happening better than the game does. But that's just because in the game you can only put so many like NPCs. You know.
And as good as the game version is, you, the player, are in control of the camera and you can't literally look at everything at once. Whereas the show,
Can
knows what
direct
you
you
need to
where you
see.
want to be.
Oh my god. Yeah, and there was a line from Sarah earlier that's brief, but I think works where she's like, is this terrorists? Like, what the fuck's going on? Because yeah, that's what you would in the context of 2003. That is what you might think is like, what the fuck's happening? Like you said, that they capture the chaos of all that really well. Sarah,
Sarah, how are you?
Sarah. How many Sarahs do you think are here?
Is Sarah supposed to be like a little older? Because she feels older than Game Sarah.
I think she's it's probably the actress is probably just a little older. Like she's probably like 13 or 14. I think Game Sarah's supposed to be 11 or 12. So like
Yeah,
just a little bit.
in the game she feels just really like small and like
Mhm.
innocent young. Oh my god, it's RoboCop. However, I will say it's interesting. I do feel like this has kind of raised the bar for video game adaptations on TV. Because, Fallout came out, everybody loved that. It was really
Yes.
good. Halo came out, everybody hated that because it wasn't very good. Except Dan. Dan really liked it. I was indifferent because I don't care about Halo. But
Hmm.
we
Well,
haven't been pumping these out as fast as I thought we would.
yeah, like I said, they're still trying to get that God of War one off the
Well,
ground,
Netflix
but
was going to do a Horizon show. I don't know if you remember that. I
oh
don't know how the
yeah.
fuck that would work.
And also that's like I mean, I get that a lot of people play that game, but also who cares?
Yeah,
Like
like
I don't see the demand for it. At least Halo's like a proven property that's been popular for over 20 years. Doesn't make the show good. I'm just saying that one makes a little more sense.
no, if you're going to do any of Sony's properties, do like Infamous or
How do you
an
do it?
animated Sly show or Uncharted. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh. Uh, but this, I mean, is obviously one of the most important scenes of the game, and I think it's really well executed.
Yeah, no, this is done perfectly. I gotta say, this 4K looks gorgeous.
Hell yeah. And both, of course, this show is developed by Craig Mazin, who directs this episode. I think does a great job. Also plays the soldier here,
Ah, we
so a
love
little
a
directed
cameo.
cameo. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I get to play the guy who kills Sarah.
You bastard. So, Robert, are you one of the ones that said they should have been insane and recast the lead between seasons because?
No, I was not. I also think game fans don't know how age works because they're like, but Ellie's so much older in the second one. It's like, yeah, she's like the same age that Bella Ramsey is now. It's like them 3 years.
Playing devil's advocate, because I do not agree that she should be recast. Like, I'd have to see her in that role. I do think part of the problem is that Bella Ramsey has like a baby face. She doesn't have that like hardened look to her. So like when they tried to recreate that Last of Us Part 2 poster, it didn't work because she doesn't have the face for that. But to demand that you recast between seasons is insane.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, it would have been impossible for the show to top just the shock value of the game, the intimacy and the tragedy of this moment, but they still do a great job.
Well, and one thing that, because what I like about that moment in the game is it's such an ungame like moment, whereas this is just another TV moment. It's really well done, but it's not shocking to the medium. Whereas in the game, it is because the game protagonists don't usually lose like that.
Right.
And for however old this actress is, she's amazing in this scene.
Oh, yeah. No, it's still absolutely gut wrenching.
Yeah.
And
HBO
I
be
like that
killing
you.
it lately.
Yeah. But I like that you can see that his watch was broken from that. It's cool that that's your
20
20
years
years
later.
later.
Are you
Uh,
having a stroke?
who's to say?
But I just want to go back to the casting for a second because the thing I've been seeing now, like other than the alien Romulus girl as Ellie, which she wouldn't be bad for like part two. There's a lot of people
Right.
keep suggesting a random cosplayer off of the internet.
Of course.
She's not an actress. Like,
People are weird.
meanwhile, with this infected child,
You don't know that.
Oh God, the cinematography in this is gorgeous. Changing the timeline also helps put the 20 years later where the show was filmed. So
Mhm.
you're kind of on that same.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Yeah, because we're now in an alternate history,
Because
which is pretty cool.
with the game, if the flashbacks take place when the game came out, then we're way in the future.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that since society stopped.
Hmm. But yeah, but between this and now the Penguin, HBO is one of the few really reliable studios for like these big budget event television series, which is apparently all Warner Brothers cares about now, because now Warner Brothers just wants to be the HBO studio, I guess,
Ay
because they
caramba.
ate all the other. Yeah,
So Robert, do you think that they should have made a tie-in game to this move, the show? You know, really capitalize on it.
sure.
I am shocked. I don't know if you have this. I am shocked that when the game came out or that remake came out, they didn't do like a Pedro skin or something to
Yeah,
tie
I
in
thought
with
they might.
this. Because I know The Witcher 3 did a whole DLC set for the show where you could play as like Henry Cavill's Geralt. Oh, that's another
Oh,
video
that's
game
interesting.
show that just kind of came and went.
Yeah. Yeah, when I think probably the first good one I can think of that people were really excited about were something like that Castlevania anime, but that was obviously very different. That's a very loose
Castlevania.
adaptation.
I think the big one that came out that everybody went gaga for before, I think it's before this, was um, that League show, Arcane,
Oh, Arcane. Yeah, that would have come out around this, maybe a year earlier.
which
And
that first season is
obviously
great.
it's wonderful. And I do like the scene a lot. Again, we're just getting a lot of context for this world. How the infections work, how long they last, and that we're in a place where we still have quote
That
unquote
is a
society.
brutal hard cut.
Yeah. No, this shows it still goes to those dark, heavy places. Like, yeah, we
You know,
it's
Robert,
like fuck you, we
you
just killed two
pitch.
kids.
You mentioned who should like remake the stand when we did that. Give it to this guy.
Craig Mazin, he'd be great. And of course, the reason why he gets this job and why it happens
Is
is for his
Chernobyl,
Chernobyl show. Yeah,
which I
which I
haven't
still haven't
seen.
seen. But also in before that he's known for all these like shitty comedies, but you get what you get in
He,
Hollywood.
I mean, I haven't seen those comedies, but it kind of feels like to me, just based on this, he is what Todd Phillips thinks he is. A guy that got
Mm.
stuck making shitty comedies, but can actually make something like great with artistic value.
And the show for some decisions that didn't work for you, at least it comes from a place of A, Neil Druckmann's involved, you have the game creator there, and B, Craig Mazin starts as a fan of this material. He, like
Mhm.
all of us, was just a fan who played the game, and it's really cool that he got this job. And it's not saying that you have to be a fan of a property to be a good writer, or be a good
I mean,
director,
you
and
need
make
to
something good,
respect it
but
at the very
you
least.
need to
Yeah.
respect it, and it helps. You want this to at least be more of the norm of, hey, let's give more of these projects to people who are
Okay,
passionate about the source
Robert.
material.
You know how I compared Craig Mason to Todd Phillips? I didn't
Yep.
realize how on the nose this was, because he's the writer for the Hangover sequel
Oh right.
and Scary Movie 4, and Scary Movie
Good job,
3.
Craig.
Oh,
Yeah.
but he also has an uncredited writing credit for Dune Part 2 and Wicked.
Oh, interesting.
Wait,
And
he voiced Billy the Puppet in Scary Movie 4.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Good for him. After this, give him a Saw movie. Fuck it.
If we can even make one of those anymore.
Right. That's like the some of the 2003 touches I really like that guy having the Al Gore the T-shirt, just because it's like, yeah, that's what's available at this point. People are just stuck with whatever clothing's still around that was made up to that point. Just all this stuff establishing Boston and how their community works and the rules. And again, this is all information you get in the game, but it's through gameplay. It's things you can look at or things you can move on and or potentially miss. And it's all organized here really well. Of
Mm.
just a day in the life for this version of Joel. But what I was mentioning earlier though about this originally being 2 episodes. So when we see older Joel after the 20-year time skip and he throws the body of the dead child in the fire, that was going to be the end of episode 1. Where it's like,
Crazy.
fuck you, 2 dead children, goodbye. And they were just like, yeah, it's not enough.
It's
It's a
crazy
good
that
moment.
Pedro doesn't look like heavily made up or anything in either version. Even though I'm sure the 20-year time skip is closer to how he really looks.
Hmm. And they did age him up a little. Game Joel is 50 in the main timeline, and here I think they say he's 56.
Oh, crazy. He's going to be like 60 in season 2.
Yeah. But he looks enough like Game Joel to me, like he's got the gray in his hair, he's got that rugged look.
No, he does. The only
Kind of
thing
sounds
that
like
I have, and I don't know if you have this, is that I think Hugh Jackman in Logan looks almost like exactly like Game
him.
Joel. So I've kind of
He
seen
does.
the perfect live action Game Joel.
Yeah. No, that was the big popular fan cast. That would have been great, but I was fine
Well, when you
with
think
what we
about it,
got.
Logan really is just an adaptation of The Last of Us.
There's a lot of Last of Us in that movie, so I like the
What's her
variety.
name?
Daphne Keane.
She could have been Ellie.
Yeah. Well, and of course, when this was first being developed as a movie way back when, I think Maisie Williams was initially cast from Game of Thrones.
I don't know if anybody
Who
was
is one of the
officially
younger girls.
cast. I know that there was a lot of
She
fan
was at least in
casting.
talks. Yeah. I think Chloe Moretz was a popular fan cast because, Hit Girl. But that's the problem is when too many years passed and those actresses are in their 20s now, it's like, yeah, they outgrew it.
Yeah. He's doing a thing with his voice, especially post time skip, that sounds a lot like Troy Baker's take.
It does. I like that shot of the graffiti. When you're lost in the darkness, look for the light.
Yeah. And do you recognize this guy?
Not immediately. Playing Robert. What's he from?
That is, oh God, Mark from Freddy versus Jason.
Oh,
The
yeah.
only person that Freddy kills in that movie. Yes, I remember
Oh,
him.
that's amazing. This is a thing the show does a lot that I really like, and I can't wait to see what we get in season 2. Is like this is a scene that happened in the game. We just
We
didn't
just didn't
see
get
it
to see
because
it.
we're always following Joel's POV, where Tess talks about getting roughed up by Robert and his men, and here we actually get to see it, and that's really cool.
And I really like her casting. She's obviously most known for Fringe.
Yeah, which I never saw, so I wasn't that familiar with this actress, Hannah Torv.
I've only seen a couple
She's really good.
episodes. It's just I know of her because I remember seeing previews for that on cable.
Hmm.
But no, when this first aired, I was like, "That's the guy from Freddy versus Jason. Like, what is he doing here?" I'm the only one that made that connection. I'm sure.
And it's perfect casting. Robert's a real Weasley piece of shit, and he
Yeah.
nails it.
Yeah, Mark Davis. The actor's name is Brandon Fletcher. Yeah, it seems like he's just a character actor. He was in 3 episodes of that show Reacher from this year.
Oh, interesting. I've heard that's good. I should check that out at some point.
Oh, he has a reoccurring role in the last season, in season 7 of Arrow, as the
Oh,
Star City Slayer.
oh God. I'm sure that was a great role.
Yeah, I'm sure. What else? Oh, he's Smallville's parasite.
Oh my God. God, it's been ages since I've seen that episode.
Uh,
That'll be
I
fun.
can't think of it off the top of my head.
That was a later season one, right?
Uh, oh, of course, yes. That is season 8. He is one of the people on Tess Mercer's team of metahumans. Uh, that doesn't really go anywhere.
Remember Tess Mercer?
I liked her a lot.
She was cool for a bit.
Part of that was that actress.
Oh yeah.
But then they couldn't decide, is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy?
I love this introduction to Ellie. Just the sunlight interface, which
No,
again,
Robert,
not in the game.
this Ellie is bad. She doesn't look like game Ellie.
And once I'm watching it, I do not care. Just her
What
body language, the way she kicks that tray. I was
what
just
do
like,
you
"Yep,
mean she
that's Ellie."
acts like game Ellie? She doesn't look like her, damn it. That's what's important.
But also Bella's like what, like 16 when they filmed this, and all the people you see fan cast now are like in their mid-20s.
No,
Like,
that's why I'm pretty sure they're only casting them for that second season.
mhm.
That's why I said I think they wanted them to recast between seasons, which would be insane. No, all joking aside, I really like her this season.
Yeah, there's a couple episodes where I think Bella's absolutely phenomenal. And
The DLC episode, because I can't think of the name at the moment. Uh, that might
no,
be my second favorite episode of the show.
it's really good. Like, you're gonna pay,
The way
motherfuckers.
the way that spray painted made it look like it said when you're lost in the darkness.
Yeah.
That man ain't got no hand.
No.
It is cool how close we are to season 2. It feels weird.
Yeah, totally. I guess just because the gap between the first game and the second game were so long. That was like 7 years.
I am a little nervous if they have a 4 or 5 season plan, because I assume The Last of Us Part 2 will be a couple seasons. I'm nervous when HBO moves into adapting a material without the source material to be there. You know what I mean?
Craig Mason has at least said that however long it takes, when they're done with the second game, they're done. Like, they don't have plans. Again, we'll
Oh,
see how
weird.
season 2 plays out.
Because I thought I read that they want to do like 4 or 5 seasons.
5 is a lot, but I could see them hitting 4. Depending on how they move stuff around and expand stuff. Because the thing with that game, that second game, is it's so massive
Yeah.
and covers so much time. I think there's a bit more wiggle room in expanding on stuff. And like that, we've talked about this before, but that epilogue with like Ellie and Dina on the farmhouse, that's the stuff I think you could expand on a lot
Mm-hmm.
in the show.
Well, and
Do
then
you think
with that, if they do make that third game, does that mean we come back and like make another season?
I think we do, but not for a while.
Because like I like the way the two ends. I don't love that as an ending to a TV series.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays. But one thing they talked about before was like this Tommy DLC they were working on for 2 that just never materialized. Um, that's gonna make its way into the show, right? Whatever that was, I'm sure.
Maybe, yeah. So I was shocked that they didn't do any DLC for two because I feel like you could have.
You could have. I think it's just because that game took so long to come out and was so expensive. It took so much time.
Well, and
They're like,
the
"Fuck it, we're
reaction
done."
was probably just
Yes,
we don't want to look at it. We don't want to think about it.
right.
I just pray that the actress playing Abby has deleted all of her social media. Um,
Please, Caitlin, don't look at the
Not
comments.
all of us are deranged. Meanwhile, at the Alcoholics Anonymous episode,
Don't do that, Joel.
you can't do that.
It's okay to feel sad sometimes.
Hey, Mr. Rogers. I might boot up the second game again, try that permadeath run again.
Oh, good luck.
Try to beat it before season 2 comes out.
And I like this little peek at their relationship, Joel and Tess. Like it's implied in the game that they're, a romantic pairing here. That's a little more
See, I
overt.
never got the feeling, I never got the idea that they were together in the game. It was there's something there, but neither of them really pursued it because she says something to the effect of like, if there is anything between us, do this for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I very much see Joel in that first game as yes, there is something there, but he is not emotionally ready to be in a relationship, and he may never
Mm-hmm.
be.
I could at least in the game though, I could believe though that they probably slept together at some point. Again, it's just headcanon
Wow, but
stuff.
that's
Um,
just sex.
right.
Like,
Yeah, like, well, I see what you're saying is they're partners, but in both the game and the show, I don't think they consider themselves boyfriend and girlfriend. I think that's kind of
right.
beneath them. Like,
I don't think they were ever emotionally involved.
sure.
This version I can see a little bit more because we have to soften him up.
He's this is a more sensitive Joel. Like even just like the way he plays this scene, checking on her wounds. Yeah, the big difference between Joel and Ellie, like the game version and the show version, and I like both a lot, is that the game version starts with Joel as much more of a, I don't want to say one note, but much more of like a stoic, just archetype. Like, okay, he's hardened, serious survival man who at the end will get to that point of loving and caring for someone again. Ellie starts as this wide eyed, optimistic, bowl of positive energy who will become this hardened, cynical person. So they kind of flip by the end. So it's like Joel starts here, ends here. Ellie starts here, ends here. In the show, it's more like Joel starts here, ends here. Ellie starts. You know what I mean? Like they're a bit more complex and kind of have more mixed emotions at the start. And like they still have arcs. Like that story's still there, but I don't want to say they're more three-dimensional. It's just kind of a different take that works for me.
We also changed it
It's
from
not
weapons to a battery. Because she said that Robert sold their battery, not their guns.
right. Yeah, because they want a vehicle.
Yeah.
Um,
Because we gotta cut out the whole Billstown section. We'll get there, but fucking
they
A.
don't cut it out. They don't cut it out. They just do something different with it. And I like this extra Firefly stuff, and it's really cool that Marlene's played by the same actress.
I didn't know that because I was like, I know there was something with Marlene.
He is wearing a wig, and once you notice that, it's very obvious. That's fine. And it was something that Merle Dandridge, she campaigned hard for. She was like, "No, I want to play Marlene in the show," and she got it. So good for her.
Yeah, I know. I know the actress that plays Dina was complaining because they didn't cast her.
Oh, did she say that? Oh, that's unfortunate. It's like you're
I
too
don't
old.
think she's an actress.
No, she is. I've seen her in stuff outside of that game.
Or
She
no,
was in
sorry. Is it? Hold on. I don't think it was the one that like played her. Sorry, it's I think it's the
Oh, like the
face.
okay, like the face model for the character. Yeah, they could put her in the show somewhere as a different character. Fine. Also, like I love Troy Baker as Joel in the game. He's perfect. That wouldn't have worked in live action. You'd at least have to wait another 10 years. Like Troy Baker's not there yet. He's not old and grows off. Because there was that
I
discussion of
also
two
would.
of like,
I don't see a world where I could buy actual Troy Baker being Joel. Like he's just a
right.
voice.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, motion capture, like they are performances, they're just
Right,
digitally cut
but
up.
it wouldn't hit the same if you're just looking at Troy Baker doing those things.
Right. We needed an older actor.
It is
He's too
funny
pretty.
that Troy Baker is a villain in this.
It's great.
The one thing I am disappointed, I think this would have worked, is they should have got Nolan North to play David.
That would have been interesting. I
So
hope he
he's
shows up
not
in the
in
show
this?
somehow.
Question mark.
No. Maybe he'll be in season 2.
Maybe.
Is this your favorite line coming up? I think it is. It's a
It
great Joel
is.
moment.
No, this feels like Game
Hey
Joel.
friend. I want anything.
No, that is a Game Joel line. That's great.
That's great. You tell me look for the light, I'll break your jaw. Also, I really like the wardrobe and costume design on this show. Where this isn't exactly the shirt he has at this point in the game, but he will get it later. But like, it's still close enough. And she's wearing like that pink red shirt. That's pretty
This
similar.
isn't like Fallout where I'd cry foul if Fallout didn't have appropriate clothing, because Fallout has a very specific look in the attire and world. This is they're just wearing clothes that they probably salvaged from a grocery store or something.
Right. Also, Joel, just like his shirt scheme he has going on, like I can't not think of Rick from The Walking Dead. They just have a very similar taste. Another grizzled old
And there was a lot of
zombie
comparisons when this
character.
show came out,
Oh yeah.
which is hysterical because I think the game comes out around the same time as that show or a little bit before.
It's a few years into it.
Okay.
I mean, that game was, in to Walking Dead's credit, I think Walking Dead helped it. Like that Last of Us just came out in the perfect storm of zombie fever was at its highest.
Yeah.
Games were changing, getting to a more quote unquote adult place.
Walking
That game just
simulator
came out at the
place.
perfect time. The walking simulator place, if you will.
Yeah.
But no, it was perfect. it's crazy that that thing even worked on the PlayStation 3. Like it was just so ambitious.
Well, that's why I've never been upset with how many times they've released that, because I feel like the PS5 version is arguably the definitive, like, this is the best way to play it.
Like
The
the final cut.
PS4 version is good. That's the definitive way to play the original in that art style. The PS3 is not the way to experience that game. It runs like
No.
shit.
And this is some of that expansion stuff I was talking about that I really like. These Ellie and Marlene interactions. And you get a lot more context up front for this relationship. Like Ellie doesn't know her very well. She doesn't know what's going to happen to her. And I like how
Which
they
is
break down
weird because that's not the feeling I get in the show or in the game. Sorry.
I agree until we get that information later. Because the game does make it pretty clear later that, oh yeah, Marlene and Ellie don't have like that close of a relationship. They're kind of aware of
Which
each
is
other.
weird because when you get at the beginning, when you first meet them, Ellie acts like she's known her whole life.
Right. Because the idea in both is that Marlene dropped off Ellie here in this safe zone, and Ellie grew up here, but like they did not have a close relationship.
Either way, I don't know how I feel about this being their first meeting, so close to when Joel's gonna show up. But it's not a huge, like, it's not a deal breaker. It's just weird.
But I do like how they break down just the logistics of the situation, where even Marlene doesn't immediately think or is sure that Ellie is immune, which is why she's had her chained up here for like a week. Like they've just been watching her and studying her. Like that feels very believable. That and it makes sense that Marlene wouldn't have the courage to, put her down. But when Ellie doesn't turn, it's like, I don't know, let's chain her up and just wait and see what
You
happens.
maniacs.
But
Season 2 come out?
April 13th question mark?
We should try to make some time and do like another like speculation or wish list for what we want from season 2.
Yeah, like a week before it premieres.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, April 13th. I think it's Sunday. This is great. The makeup and practical effects in the show are so good. Like this just looks right
Because
out of
I
the game.
was kind of worried when the show was coming out. Oh god, they're gonna CGI everything. It's gonna look like a PS3 game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is all a real set, and it looks awesome.
Yeah. Do we know how many episodes season 2 is gonna be?
It's shorter. It's only gonna be 7.
Ooh. I'm nervous. Like I don't know what season 2 is gonna have, but I'm nervous.
Yeah, we'll see. This is the scene where they talk more about Joel's construction job background. Talking about condos. Just a nice little bit of banter. And speaking of Tess, who I like a lot in the show, as always, I wanted to mention Annie Wershing, who played Tess in the game, who I wondered would have a cameo or something in the show, but turns out, I don't know if you remember this, Annie Wershing, who played Tess in the game, she died like the month this premiered.
Damn.
Yeah, from cancer. So that was something I just didn't know about until she passed away. So R.A.P. Annie Wershing, you were great in the game. So it is a bummer that we kill Robert off screen, but I still like the scene a lot. But this is where I think it's very economical in translating a game to the show. Is in the game we're hunting Robert, we get in all these like shootouts and firefights. Meanwhile, there's all this stuff going on with Marlene, being a firefly and getting shot by the military or Fedra. And in the show, we just combine those events.
I love this moment that's coming up.
He throws Ellie against the wall. Like, dude, holy shit, you could have fucking killed her, dude. This is a great first interaction. And that's a bit I
I'm
love.
confused. Like,
Joel
what the fuck
stepping on
is
the
wrong with
knife.
you, kid?
No, they're both excellent in the scene.
There's there's a like a TikTok edit trend where it'll be like characters' mentality, and they'll show a scene and then flash. And I found one for Joel, and it starts with that. I was like, that's amazing. Ellie, stop going for the damn knife.
he gives a great look there. Just like, don't fuck with me.
Condescending this version of Marlene is. Yeah, no offense,
Hate her
but your
so
brother's
much.
just one guy. Fuck him.
Yeah, and it's coming from the same place of desperation as the game version of maybe you should take Ellie. But again, I think we combine these events really smartly in this version, and you don't have a fucking gear on your fucking head.
So okay, I am a little confused. Who wiped these people out? The military or?
No, they got in a firefight with each other.
Oh, okay.
Because Robert fucked Marla. We talked over it, but I think the way the show plays it. So Robert made a deal with Joel and Tess for the battery, right? Well,
Oh,
Robert
okay, because
turned
he
his
tried to
staff
sell a
into
faulty battery to two different people. Gotcha.
right, and it was faulty. So that's why the firefight ensued, and they all fucking died
God,
except
the
for Marlene.
Fireflies are even more incompetent in the show.
That's what I find interesting. It's like, yeah, they're shitty freedom fighters. You don't see that a lot in fiction. We're used to, the
No, which is
rebellion being,
why
oh,
I
they're the
find
good
people
guys.
who are upset about Too Funny. You trust these people to have found a cure?
I don't.
They would
Oh,
have
I said
killed
that.
that girl for no reason.
But like we were talking earlier about how this works as a pilot and why it needs to be extended, is that is the luxury you have of playing a game that you don't typically with a show, at least not a binge show, is with a game you get to play it at your own pace. And typically gamers will play for hours and hours and hours and then put it down.
I don't want to talk about
Um,
it.
yeah. But that like what I mean? Like the pacing and structure is just so different. It's like, yeah, we can wait like 2 hours to meet Ellie in the game because most gamers aren't gonna shut it off before that. We're typically patient in terms of plot and story and stuff. But in the show, in a pilot, you do need that hook and what the story's about up front. You can't wait too long on that. So this being an hour and a half, I think just totally worked out.
You know what works about this show is it's about family. That's what's so powerful about it.
That is true. One of my favorite Bella line readings, I think, is coming up. What the fuck? It's lines like that where I'm like, yep, that's Ellie. They nailed it.
And the thing with the movie is, I don't know if you would have gotten that Ellie. They would have probably had to tone
Right.
down some of those f bombs.
Hmm. Even in an R-rated movie, I don't think they could have gone to some of those places that the show was able to go to. At least some of it. It also doesn't help that when that game came out and they were first developing that movie, we were in kind of knee deep in like the PG-13 horror movie era. It really wasn't until what 2017 when it kicked off, and we were like, "Oh,
It is
hey,
kind of the
R-rated horror
resurrection
movies."
of the R-rated horror movie, yeah.
Yeah, not that it was the only one, but that was just such a
Which
massive
is
hit.
funny too, because like you still had like the underground stuff, because like Terrifier is 2016.
Mhm.
That guy looked at mainstream horror, was like, "Fuck this! I'll make it my own." And Pedro and Bella on like just interviews are great together.
Their chemistry matters. That's why now that I'm personally satisfied with the show and these actors, where I'm like, yeah, I just don't have the fan casting thing anymore. Of well, this person could have been good and this person could have been good. It's like, yeah, maybe, but you need that duo to work together. Like
Yeah.
even if it was Hugh Jackman and it was great, you still need the right Ellie to match him, or else it's not going to work. You know?
Like my thing with the fan casting is none of you all were complaining in the first season. You all are just freaking out over a poster.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
th-
okay, nobody sane was freaking out in the first season. I saw some complaints that made me wonder why. What the fuck? Like I saw, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a lot of people on like Twitter complaining that Bella wasn't hot enough to play Ellie. I'm like,
yep,
she's
that was the
13.
thing. Yep.
Stop it.
There is an unfortunate toxic gross side of gamer fandom that may not be interested in a sophisticated adult TV show.
Uh, can't wait for the internet meltdown when season 2 starts.
Oh boy. This is a great bit that's not in the game where we set up Bill and Frank here and this like code that they have that Ellie's cracked. It's a good little moment that shows how smart she is. Where she figured like 80s music means trouble. Like just nice little bit of her fucking with him. Because one thing you were talking about earlier with how Ellie and Marlene in the game felt closer to you, that's just how they play it. Uh, One thing that I do feel about the game that I think the show improves on, even if it's not an issue I have with the game, is the show up front is a lot more aware to me, or at least informed by um, the Riley storyline. There's a lot more hints to that up front because we know we're getting that episode later. It's not a DLC extra thing the way it was in the game, which works great in the
Which is
game,
really cool because we don't normally do story DLC in adaptation.
right? And it's wonderful. But again, this is a thing that's never bothered me in the game. It's just an observation that in the game, like I said earlier, Ellie starts very wide-eyed and positive and this ball of energy who then becomes more hardened and darkened over the course of the game. There aren't really any hints to the Riley stuff until the end, and then of course the DLC. The show really plays up that yeah, this girl's already got a darkness to her and is already kind of damaged. Like she's not showing it. Like she is putting up a front in these scenes with Joel and
Say
Tess, but
there's
there are a lot
no in
more
the
hints up
game.
front.
The big one is everybody I've ever loved has left me except you.
That's a big one. Yep.
There's moments.
That is a big one. That's also
We just don't
like,
get a Riley name drop until the end.
until the end. But like Ellie's toughness and edge, you just get a bit more upfront in this version.
Mm-hmm.
But you still get the goofy moments that I like because still a kid. I think one of the best things a game adaptation can do is just make you want to pick up the game. Scenes like this, it just feels like playing those levels, and you're like,
I really
oh,
want to play
I
The
want
Last of Us Part 2 right now. God damn it.
Yeah. And that is 5 seasons. Admittedly, sounds like a lot. It'll probably just be 4, but again, I do see room for that expansion for the show, just because I know there is just a lot of stuff that didn't make the cut in that second game, and stuff since that's been canceled and just never materialized. So like, I know there is a lot of material.
Season 3 will be that factions multiplayer.
And this is a change I like a lot. Instead of being some nameless faceless soldiers, this is a guy that Joel's worked with smuggling shit. So
That is one thing where the show is smart. Is it knows that in video games it's fine to have faceless, nameless minions to slaughter. In a show, you need some kind of like these are people.
And that's where it feels very informed by the second game, right? Where the second game's all about the cost of violence and the morally gray characters and the cost of your actions, and this season's very informed by what's going to come later. Like this guy, making him an actual character you feel a little bad for. Like, the show doesn't relish in the violence the way the game does, which again is fine because it's a really fun game. But for the show, every time the violence kicks in, it's treated very seriously and very dark.
I will say,
There's
I am not a fan of the softening that they do for Joel in this. Like, I like the game Joel. I love this like PTSD angle.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's softer, but he's also a little more unstable, like the way he snaps here. And like, this is a guy he knew.
The only scene that I kind of question, and like when I say question, I just mean as an adaptation. It's fine for the show. Is that scene in later when they're at Tommy's place and he has like that panic attack? It's like, I don't see Joel having a panic attack, but okay.
Yeah, this version does, and I like.
Remember when that was a meme?
Yeah. And oh god, like the way Joel just bashes this guy's fucking face in. Oh my god.
You can tell this is a modern show because right now I can't see shit.
Yep. Thankfully, there's not a lot of scenes like we're at the end of the episode. This is a scene I remember some game fans complaining about because they found it way rushed, with like Ellie saying, "I'm not infected, like don't kill me," whatever. Again, the version of the game works where they just have that conversation. In the show, you just have to be patient. We're gonna get that in the second episode. And in the context of the show, it's like, yeah, they just killed a fucking Fedra agent. They're not just gonna sit here out in the open. They need to go. Like,
Yeah,
it's
no,
fine.
I've never had an issue with that because, but I think that's because I figure, they'll have a conversation.
Yeah,
And
like, we get
it's
that
pouring rain. Like they're not gonna sit there.
Right. Joel's having a moment.
I love this shot that is just straight out of the game. The building leaning on
Yeah.
itself.
And I always forget where it is, but somewhere on that building you can see a clicker, like way in the distance.
Good luck.
That's really cool.
Yeah, good luck finding that. Jesus. All right,
That's
that
when the
is
thunder and
episode
lightning.
1 of
Yeah.
season 1.